The digital clock on the wall read 11:52 p.m. Jean Kong sat alone in the darkness. The penthouse lights were off, leaving only the glow of the Manhattan skyline spilling through the floor-to-ceiling windows behind him. 60 floors below, the city pulsed with life. Sirens in the distance, taxis crawling through intersections, laughter echoing from bars that refused to sleep. Up here everything was silent. Too silent. Jean leaned forward on the black leather couch, elbows resting on his knees, fingers clasped together so tightly his knuckles had turned white. A half-finished glass of whiskey sat untouched on the table in front of him. He hadn't moved in nearly an hour. He checked his watch again. 11:53 p.m. His jaw tightened. He was not a patient man. Men across the East Coast feared his name. Jean Kong ran one of the most powerful Korean syndicates in the country. His reach extended through New York, Atlanta, and Miami, into gambling, real estate, shipping businesses that never appeared on paper. He commanded rooms without raising his voice. He ended lives without leaving evidence. And yet, tonight, the most dangerous man in Manhattan was sitting in the dark waiting for his housekeeper to come home. The realization made his chest burn with anger he refused to name. The elevator chimed softly. Jean didn't move, didn't speak, didn't even blink. The front door opened. Maya Thompson stepped inside, slipping out of her coat as she checked something on her phone. She wore a tan blazer over a fitted black top, her natural curls pulled back into a neat low puff. She looked composed, professional, like she'd just come from somewhere important. She took 2 steps into the penthouse. Then she felt it. That heavy shift in the air. That unmistakable pressure that always appeared when he was near. Maya looked up. Her breath caught. Jean sat in the shadows like a statue carved from stone, the city lights behind him outlining his broad shoulders and sharp features. His dark eyes were locked on her with an intensity that made her pulse spike. Coming home at this hour? His voice sliced through the silence, low, controlled, jealous. Maya's heart slammed against her ribs. She started, then stopped. Jean stood. Slowly, deliberately. Each step he took toward her echoed across the marble floor, turning the massive penthouse into something small, suffocating. I asked you a question, he said quietly. Where were you? Maya lifted her chin, even as her hands trembled at her sides. My personal time is not your business, she said, voice steady through sheer will. I work for you. I don't belong to you. Jean stopped inches away from her. His gaze dropped to her lips, then back to her eyes. Then tell me, he said softly, dangerously, why the thought of another man touching you makes me want to burn this city to the ground. Maya's breath stuttered, and in that moment she knew, whatever this was between them, it was already far too late to stop it. Maya's heartbeat thundered in her ears. She refused to step back, refused to let him see how deeply his words had shaken her. You're crossing a line, she said quietly. Jin's jaw flexed. You crossed it first, he replied. Walking into my home at midnight dressed like that. Her brows knitted together. Dressed like what? She snapped. Like a woman who has a life outside of scrubbing your marble floors? Something dark flickered in his eyes. You knew what you were doing. I knew I was coming home, Maya shot back. That's it. Silence fell between them, thick and charged. Jean studied her like a puzzle he couldn't solve. She wasn't afraid of him. She should have been. Everyone else was. Tell me where you were, he said again, slower now. Maya exhaled sharply. Wednesday and Friday nights, she said. Every week. Jin's expression didn't change, but his hands clenched at his sides. You've been watching me. I protect what's mine. Her chest tightened. I am not a thing, she said. And I am not yours. He leaned closer. Then why do you make me feel like I am losing control every time you leave this penthouse? Maya's breath hitched. She reached into her bag, fingers shaking, and pulled out a thick textbook. She held it up between them. Principles of Financial Management. I've been going to class, she said softly. Community college in Queens. Night courses. Jean stared at the book, then at her. Confusion crossed his face. You thought I was with someone else, Maya continued, bitterness lacing her words. You've been sitting in the dark, convincing yourself I was betraying you. while I was studying discounted cash flows. For the first time, Gene stepped back. Shame flashed across his features, quick, sharp. Why didn't you tell me? He asked. Because I don't want your money, Maya replied. I don't want your protection. I want my future to be mine. Gene opened his mouth to respond, but his phone rang. He glanced at the screen, and the warmth vanished. He answered in Korean, his tone snapping back into command. Where? A pause. How many? Another pause. I'm coming. He ended the call and looked at Maya. There's been an attack on one of my warehouses, he said coldly. I have to go. He turned toward the door then stopped. This conversation isn't finished, he said. When I come back, we'll finish it. The door closed behind him. Maya slid down against it, her legs finally giving out. Her hands pressed against her chest as she tried to slow her breathing. Because now she understood. Gene Kong wasn't just jealous. He was terrified. And men like him only loved one way. Dangerously. Gene didn't come home that night. Or the next morning. Maya moved through the penthouse on autopilot. Cleaning surfaces that were already spotless. Folding clothes that didn't need folding. Pretending the silence didn't feel heavier with every passing hour. She told herself she wasn't worried. Gene Kong was a powerful man. A dangerous one. Men like him didn't get hurt easily. Still, every sound in the hallway made her pause. Every vibration of her phone made her heart jump. By noon the next day, exhaustion settled into her bones. She was in the kitchen when she heard voices. Low, urgent, coming from Jin's office. The door was slightly open. She knew she shouldn't listen. She listened anyway. Ever since she moved in, he's changed, a man said coolly. Maya recognized the voice, Mr. Han, Jin's right-hand man. He's distracted, hesitant. You're imagining things, another voice replied. This one was sharper, colder. Gene Kong doesn't get distracted. He does now. There was a pause. Then Mr. Han spoke again. You know what happened the last time he trusted a woman? Maya's breath caught. The fiancé, the other man muttered. Don't say her name. Yura, Mr. Han said anyway. She almost got him killed. Maya's hand flew to her mouth. She was supposed to be his wife, Mr. Han continued. A political marriage. Her family wanted his territory. She wanted his power. And instead, the other man said quietly, she sold him out. Maya leaned closer, heart pounding. They tried to assassinate him the night before the wedding, Mr. Han went on. He survived by inches. You've seen the scars. Silence fell. He hasn't let anyone close since, the man finished. Until now. Maya stepped back from the door, legs shaking. Everything suddenly made sense. The walls. The control. The fear beneath the jealousy. That evening the front door finally opened. Maya spun around. Gene walked in looking nothing like the composed man she knew. His shirt was torn. Blood stained the collar. A fresh cut marred his cheek. Oh my God, she breathed, rushing toward him. You're hurt. It's nothing, he said dismissively. It's not, she snapped, grabbing his arm. Sit. He could have stopped her. He didn't. She cleaned the wound in silence, her touch gentle but hands trembling. You're not afraid of me, Gene said quietly. I should be, she replied honestly. But I'm not. He watched her like that answer terrified him more than any enemy ever could. I heard about her, Maya said softly. Yura. Gene went still. She betrayed you, Maya continued. She almost killed you. He didn't deny it. I don't see a broken man, Maya said, cupping his face. I see someone who was hurt and learned to survive. His breath hitched. You should stay away from me, he whispered. I ruin everything I touch. Then stop pushing me away, she said. For a moment the walls cracked. He leaned in. Their foreheads touched. If I let myself love you, Gene murmured, I won't be able to stop. Maya closed the distance. The kiss was soft at first, hesitant, almost afraid. Then desperate. Like two people clinging to the last thing keeping them human. His phone rang. The spell shattered. Gene pulled back, answering sharply. As he listened, his face hardened. When he hung up, his eyes were cold again. There's a traitor in my organization, he said. Maya swallowed. They think it's you. The words landed like a gunshot. Maya stared at him, certain she'd misheard. Me, she whispered. That's impossible. Jean didn't answer right away. He just watched her. Those dark, unreadable eyes scanning her face like he was searching for something he didn't want to find. There are encrypted messages, he said finally. Money transfers. They're traced to a phone registered in your name. Her chest tightened painfully. I don't even know how to send encrypted messages, she said, voice rising. And what money? I barely have enough to cover tuition. Silence. Not accusation. Not reassurance. Just silence. And that hurt more than anything else. You think I'd betray you? Maya asked. After everything? I don't know what to think, Jean replied honestly. The evidence is convincing. Evidence can be planted, she shot back. By someone who lives here. Someone who knows your systems. Someone who wants you to push me away. Something shifted in his expression. Doubt. Not of her, but of the situation. Why would anyone do that? He asked slowly. Maya met his gaze. Because you care about me, she said. And caring makes you vulnerable. Jean exhaled sharply. I need time, he said. To investigate. And until then? Maya asked quietly. You stay here, he said firmly. Under my protection. Am I a prisoner? No, he replied. You're the only thing in this penthouse no one is allowed to touch. It wasn't comfort, but it was something. For the next 3 days Maya lived in limbo. Jean came and went at odd hours, distant, controlled. When their eyes met there was longing and doubt. Mr. Han was around constantly, his gaze cold, calculating. Maya knew one thing with terrifying clarity. If she waited for Jean to clear her name, she might wait forever. On the third night, when the penthouse finally fell silent, she made a decision. She walked toward the one place she was never allowed to enter. Jin's office. Her heart pounded as she entered the code she'd seen him use dozens of times. The door clicked open. Inside, the city lights glowed against glass and steel. She went straight to his computer. She found the files. The messages. The timestamps. Wednesday nights. Friday evenings. Exactly when she was sitting in class. Relief surged, sharp and overwhelming. Then the office door opened. Maya spun around. Mr. Han stood in the doorway. And in his hand, a gun. You're smarter than I expected, he said calmly. The door clicked shut behind him. Maya's breath caught in her throat. The gun in Mr. Han's hand was small, black and steady, like he'd held it 1,000 times before. You framed me, she said quietly. Mr. Han smiled. It wasn't warm. It wasn't cruel. It was disappointed, like she'd solved a puzzle too late. Very smart, he said. Too smart for your own good. You planted the messages, Maya continued, forcing herself to stay calm. You routed them through my phone. You transferred money through shell accounts in my name. Mr. Han stepped inside the office and closed the door behind him. The click sounded final. I warned Jean you'd be a problem, he said. You made him hesitate. You made him question me. You betrayed him, Maya said. After everything. Mr. Han laughed softly. I gave my life to the Kong organization, he snapped. 15 years. I was supposed to inherit it. Then his father died. And suddenly the empire belonged to a grieving son with no interest in sharing power. You could have left, she said. And start over? His eyes darkened. No. I decided to take what I deserved. He grabbed her arm and dragged her toward the door. Let go of me. Maya struggled, panic flooding her chest. Your leverage, he said coldly. Jean will tear the city apart to get you back. By then it'll be too late. Her mother's voice echoed in her head. Fight dirty. Maya went limp. Mr. Han loosened his grip just slightly. That was all she needed. She slammed her elbow into his throat. The gun clattered across the marble floor. Maya ran. She sprinted down the hallway, heart screaming, lungs burning, and dove into Jin's bedroom, slamming the reinforced door shut just as Mr. Han crashed into it. You can't hide forever, he shouted. Maya locked the door and grabbed Jin's encrypted phone with shaking hands. Han is the traitor. He has a gun. Help. She sent it. Across the city, Jean was in a warehouse meeting when his phone vibrated. He read the message once, twice. The world went silent. Then he moved. Red lights meant nothing. Speed limits didn't exist. By the time Jean burst into the penthouse with his men, Mr. Han was still trying to break down the door. "Step away," Jean said calmly. Mr. Han turned, pale. "Jean, this isn't what it looks like." "It looks like betrayal," Jean replied. "And kidnapping." His men disarmed Mr. Han in seconds. Jean didn't look at him again. He went straight to the bedroom. "Maya," he said softly. "It's me." The door opened. She ran into his arms. "I'm sorry," he whispered into her hair. "I doubted you." She clung to him, shaking. "Just don't let go," she whispered. And he didn't. Maya didn't sleep that night. Neither did Jean. He stayed awake beside her, one arm wrapped around her waist like a shield, the other resting on the gun on his nightstand. Every sound in the penthouse made her flinch. Every breath he took felt counted. By morning the city looked normal again. But Jean knew better. The betrayal had shaken the entire organization. Mr. Han hadn't acted alone. He'd opened doors that should have stayed locked. And enemies noticed. Jean left for Miami that afternoon to personally shut down a retaliatory strike. He hated leaving her, but this one required blood and authority. His presence. "I'll be back in 2 days," he told her, holding her face gently. "Don't open the door for anyone. Don't leave. Not even for air." "I know," Maya whispered. "Just come back." He kissed her forehead. "I always do." That night at 11:06 p.m. the lights went out. The penthouse plunged into darkness. Maya froze. Then she heard it. Glass. Footsteps. Men speaking in low voices. Her heart slammed against her ribs as she ran. The panic room. She sealed herself inside just as the bedroom door splintered open. Through the monitor she saw 4 men sweep the penthouse. Armed, efficient, professional. They were there for her. She activated the emergency line. "Jean," she whispered when he answered. "They're inside." Silence. Then his voice, sharp, deadly calm. "Stay where you are. Don't open that door for anyone but me." "How long?" 2 hours. 2 hours felt like forever. They stayed connected the entire time. He talked to her about anything, her classes, her mother, the future. Anything to keep her grounded while his jet tore through the sky. "I love you," she said quietly, terrified she wouldn't get another chance. "I love you," he replied without hesitation. "And no one is taking you from me." Jean arrived in 97 minutes. The firefight was short, violent, final. When he opened the panic room door, Maya collapsed into his arms. "It's over," he whispered. "I promise." And this time it was. 2 days later, Jean stood by the window where this all began. The city glittered below them. "I almost lost you," he said. "And I realized something." Maya looked up at him. "My life means nothing without you in it." He reached into his pocket, not smoothly, not confidently, just honestly. "Marry me." Her breath caught. "You're insane." "Probably." "Yes," she said through tears. "Yes." 6 months later, Maya crossed the stage at Columbia. Jean stood when her name was called, clapped harder than anyone. Later that night she learned the truth. He had funded a scholarship foundation in her mother's name. Not control. Not ownership. Legacy. Their wedding was small. Rooftop. Manhattan skyline glowing behind them. When they kissed, the city roared beneath them. The girl who came with nothing. The man who had everything except love. They saved each other.